Good morning, Lori. How are you? Thank you for being here. I'm just adjusting. Ooh, got my fingers in the way there. Just adjusting some things. Hi, Jean. How are ya? Is everybody having a good day today? Hi, Vesta. Good morning. Okay. I even found myself really quickly on the computer, so maybe this is a good sign. Hi, Peggy. Thanks for sharing, Jean. Hi, Linda. Let's just wait a few seconds and see if anybody else is popping up. Hi, Kathy and Sharon. Jasmine, good morning. All right, got a good group. Love it. So I missed you guys last week. I hope that you all had good weeks. Thank you so much for sharing projects that you've been doing over in the community group. I loved seeing what you've been working on. It's great. You know, sometimes I feel like I need a personal secretary myself, but I think in my defense, when it comes to doctor's appointments, what I'm not used to are these portals. You know, they want to communicate through these apps and portals. I'm old school. I want you to call me and remind me of my appointment. You know what I mean? I didn't think to go look in these places for, you know, appointments that were coming up, or even that I could go back, because I never write anything down. I just, you know, am used to somebody following up. Here I had doctor's appointments on Thursday and Friday of last week. But, you know, I don't write things down all the time, and all of a sudden they pop up, and we all know how hard it is to get an appointment rescheduled. So I had to take them. So, you know, give me a phone call, you know, remind me. These portals just aren't doing it for me. It is like the last place I think to go look for anything. So let's see here. Hi, Carol. Linda, you've got some good temperatures today. It's actually raining here in Northwest Ohio right now. But we did have some really nice days that we had some really nice temperatures. So, oh, Jasmine, yeah, filling forms online. That's another thing. When I open my portal, there's all these forms that they want you to have filled out and send back to them. Now, these are things I always do when I show up early for my appointment. I mean, I come early so you can hand me the clipboard and I can check things off. I'm not used to doing all these things online. So, but I guess, you know, it's the way of the world, and we're all going to have to get on board. So, today's project. I had thought of a card I remember doing. I was for sure that I saved it. Couldn't find it in my stash of cards. It's one of my favorites. And so when I realized what I had to do was I went back and watched the video from 2021. It was February, I don't know, 4th or something like that. But when I watched the video back, I said, if you want to win this card, so my very favorite card was actually sent to someone. And so I thought, you know what? Just redo it. It was 2021. We have new products. You know, right now what is current are more vibrant colors or more beautiful paper. So I redid it. And here's another funny thing. There's actually a PDF in the files over in the group Quilt Cards and More. What was I thinking when I did that PDF? I don't even understand what I'm talking about. So there's going to be a new PDF. I am in the works of making a new PDF for you to share. You know, it might have made sense at the time when I did it, but you know, aside from it being funny when you're thinking, oh my gosh, what were you thinking? It also showed me how much growth I've had since, you know, 2021, learning the computer, just being able to create a PDF. So, yeah, it's definitely time for some updates. And what I need to do is maybe go back to the beginning, and we can redo some of those early projects because there's so many new people that are following now. And what I might think is, oh, I don't know, they probably have already seen it. Brand new people, there's so much to learn, and you want to learn it all. So I think that it's going to warrant going back through those old PDFs and like redoing things so that, and plus over time, what I've learned is, you know, when they say people were put in your path for a reason, I totally believe that. And through the community group and through my lives, I have had people come into my path, quilters, all just so many, coming from so many different perspectives, that they taught me so many new things. And so I need to put those new things and new ways of doing things that I've learned into an updated PDF. So be looking for that. But if you want a really good laugh, go back into the PDFs and scroll all the way down to the beginning and read some of those because they're hilarious. You are going to be like, what the heck is she talking about? And like I said, it may make sense when you're following along with the live, but just how I described some things are like, this is crazy. I don't even know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to flip the camera around, and while I'm doing that, please greet each other, and just need to shift a few things around on my workspace, and we're going to get started. And I am going to show you a revised Dutchmen's puzzle. Okay, so hold on. Ooh, I just about brought everything down with me. Okay, let me move this. Okay. Thank you for being patient. Now I can spread out a little bit more. And this is February's host code if you're doing any shopping in my online store. If you would kindly use that code if your order is under $150. Otherwise, if it's over, you get to earn all the rewards yourself. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do after this live is over, I'll post a picture of, I'll do a post where I show you the card that I was trying to look for from when I first made it. And I will show you what the new card looks like. Okay. So in the new card, I'm going to do some like quilting, but with two different embossing folders, and just to give it another look. Okay. Hi, Betty and Melanie. If I didn't get a chance to say good morning to you, well, good morning. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Eileen and Stephanie. Peggy. Okay, let's get going. And I'm gonna get out. Yesterday I had made a post about what I had put together in order to make this card. So let's move that up. I'm gonna have to remember that I need to work up higher. Okay, so I have my card base. And my card base is actually this little 1.5 inch square here. It's part of the quilt block, and I wanted it to be the same color as my card base. And I am working with Berry Burst. Okay. And then I have a mat here that is in Blackberry Bliss. And the reason why I'm choosing the colors that I have is because I'm working with the Zinnia Designer Series paper that everyone will be able to get a chance to order on March 4th. It's a new online exclusive suite. And so all of my colors are being pulled from that pack of Designer Series paper. It is like my favorite paper right now. I need a mat for my quilt block. And so I'm going to keep that with the same color mat that I have here. So these are Blackberry Bliss. And then for my border or my background of my quilt block, I have a 4-inch square of Designer Series paper, and this is from the Zinnia Designer Series paper. So that's going to become a border because my quilt block's going to set in the center. So that becomes a border. Okay. My 3-inch, I have a 3-inch square of basic white, which is, we're going to build our quilt block on. It layers on to that 3¼ inch square of Blackberry Bliss. And again, this is going to set then in the center, and I've got my pretty floral border. I have another piece of Designer Series paper. This is 1.5 inches square, the same as the Berry Burst. These two pieces here we're going to cut to become our flying geese triangles for the Dutchmen's puzzle. Okay. And then I have a 1¼ inch by 3 7/8 inch. I think it's 1¼ Oh, it's 1.5. We're going to have to cut that down to 1¼ but it's going, or I can leave it. No, I don't want to leave it because I don't want to get my floral background any smaller than what it is. So I'll cut that down. That's going to go down at the bottom. The inside, the card insert is a 4 by 5¼ inch piece of basic white. And I've got a 1/2 inch by 4 inch scrap of the Designer Series paper that's going to go down here at the bottom. And we're going to stamp a sentiment from the Zinnia stamp set. I've got a piece here that is 2 1/8 by 5.5. You know, I like to put some Designer Series paper on the back of my card base. So that's going to be put on the back. And I've got my button here that'll go on the back of the card also. Okay, so now you get a look at what the layout is going to look like. Okay, I'm also going to bring in some ribbon. I'm going to show you how to customize ribbon using your blends so that you can pretty much, if Stampin' Up! Hasn't put that color on a spool, then you can do it yourself. And then we'll work with the embellishments also and the embossing folder from the suite. So let's see, where do I want to start? Let's bring in our trimmer because I'm going to show you how to cut these two squares to get you your flying geese. And I also want to trim this down to 1 1/4 by 3 7/8, because I'm just leaving a little peekaboo border around the outside. Think of it as your binding. Okay. So I'm just going to set this aside. Set these pieces aside, and I have this piece of vellum here so that it can cover up the reflection from my lights. What did Sharon, 3 7/8 inch square? Oh yeah, you're right. Did I say 4 inches? Did I say 4 inches on this? This is 3 7/8 is what so if you cut it at 4, you're good. You just need to trim a little bit off. Let's make sure I've got it at 3 7/8. 3 7/8. 3 7/8. Okay. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. Thank you. So while we're doing that, let's just bring this in. Here it's 1.5 inches. I want to go 1 1/4 inches. So I'm just going to take a little sliver off here. So now this is 1 1/4 inches by 3 7/8. And it'll go on the bottom of my panel. Okay. Do appreciate that, Sharon. Thank you so much. And now let's cut our flying geese triangles. Okay. So out of 1.5 inches, we're going to get all 4 triangles. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our squares on point in our track. I've got a corner in the track here and on the other side. And I'm just going to put my blade over the top and then go up and down. That's so I didn't crinkle the corner of the triangle. And then I'm just going to flip it around so that the longest side is up against the top. And I've got my point in the track. And I'm going to cut it again. So we're going to do this with both of those squares. I chose a solid and a print for my quilt block. I love doing quilt blocks in solid colors, even the cardstock, because it just looks, the flat color can look so pretty. And it just seems polished to me. So now we're going to go ahead and put our cardstock square in there. Again, I'm putting my point. The mountain part of my triangle is sitting in the cutting track. Okay, so there we have our triangles, our flying geese. I think I am done with the trimmer. So let's get that out of the way. Okay, so I cut the pieces. Okay, before we mess with the blends and any stamping, let's bring in that 3-inch square piece of basic white. And what we want to do is we need to draw, we're going to split it into 4 quarters. So if you have some grid paper or just anything with a line, and you can find the 1.5 inch center, you can draw a 3-inch square on your grid paper and then find the center. These lines here that I'm drawing are going to help with the positioning of the first round of the triangles. Now, if you wanted to, I'm thinking maybe you could use your scoring blade. If you put your 3-inch square, don't do it really, really deep, but I think you could put this square in your, however you score, and score at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, an inch and a half, and then turn it and score it again, just so that you know where you're going to place those starter triangles. Okay. So this is what we need to have just to keep everything centered and get us going. Okay. And you'll notice in that PDF that I did back in 2021, there is a photo of what the pattern looks like drawn on the grid paper. Okay, so we've got that. Now, I want to do some quilting. Let me show you a finished card, okay? So this is the finished card. I've got a different color down here for the bottom. But what I want to show you is I want to do some stitching on the basic white. And then, and I'm going to deboss it because I want my stitches sitting down into the basic white. And then I put my 4 triangles that are made out of, from the cardstock, I put them in the embossing folder that is part of the Zinnia Suite. I put those triangles in the embossing folder, ran it through the machine, and now I've got some raised quilting that I'm going to put in the quilt block. And as you can see, let me see if I can get a good angle here and some lighting. I don't know if you can see it well. Right there you can. Right here. You can see that I've got the embossed part, not the debossed, the embossed part sitting up. And so now I've got, I'm trying to mimic 2 different, like if you set your quilt off, there would be a pattern that's in your background, and then a lot of times the long armor will put a different pattern in another part of the quilt. I did not run these triangles through because I love the pattern that's on there already, and I didn't want to distort it by putting it through an embossing folder. So I left this these triangles alone. Okay, so what I did for the white is, if you want to deboss, then you're going to want to flip the side that you want debossed. You're going to want to flip it over and put it in your embossing folder upside down. Okay, so that's what I did here. This is the embossed side. See how the texture is sitting on top of the cardstock? But I wanted mine to be debossed. And this is the embossing folder that is in the celebration brochure. It comes in a bundle with a stamp set. Simply Sophisticated, I think it's called. And you can see my drawn lines there to help me get going. So this will be another card. Here I've got my square of basic white. Are there any questions? Beth says lots of various textures between embossing and DSP patterns. Yes. But you can, if you take it in steps, you can put textures in several different places. When you're using embossing folders, just know that if you put them all in at once, you're getting that pattern all over. You would have to do some layering and some separate embossing. Sure. Let me put this, Katie, I would be happy to do that. Now, I don't know about, if I just hold it here, I'm afraid to move my camera on my mount, but I'm just going to leave this here for a second if anybody wants to screenshot the pattern. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I hope everybody got a screenshot of that. If not, in the replay, just back it up and take another picture, okay? Good question, Katie. Thank you. I hope that helped, and I'm really glad, hi Joyce, that I saw your question. Hey Tony. Okay, awesome. Okay, so here's my 3-inch square, and I am going to put my triangles, and I'm going to use the embossed side because I like the ridges standing up, and because it's different than what my background is that I did here on the white. And you're going to use these lines, and the longest side of your triangle is going to get put right on that line. Your points should go to the outside edge and meet in the center. If they're a little bit long, that's okay. You might want to try to scooch it down a little bit. Don't get real hung up on that unless it's they really stick out the outside. In that case, what happened was your square was a little bit bigger than 1.5 inches. It happens. And then what we're going to do, again, we're laying the longest edge of our triangle on that line that we drew, and that will help keep us straight. And this is the first part of the quilt block that we're going to do. Okay, so once you're happy, again, I always say to play with where you're placing your pieces, because sometimes in the cutting process, if we're off even a little bit, and it happens to everybody, where it might not work in one spot, just might work in another one because it just seems to want to fit with another piece of the puzzle better. So I always like to play before I glue down my pieces. And here I just want to put a little bit of glue. Don't get too heavy-handed. And I am going to put it right on that line. And go all the way around the block. Now, a lot of times it's easier just to rotate your block so that your hands are just in the same position. No need to be a contortionist. Make it easy on yourself. Just rotate that block and keep moving it around. So here we've got 2 different, what I'm going to call quilt patterns. On my block. We just had to do them separately because, like I said, if I was to put these, even with these triangles having a pattern on them, if I was to glue them down and then run it through the background embossing folder, I'm going to get an all-over pattern of what my background is. Maybe not totally because of these open spaces that are in the pattern, but it's just not going to work. It does a lot better if you can just do them separately. Oh, Kathy, I have groupies. Groupies, you can also go back to. Oh my God, you are so funny. I love it. I'll go down and tell my husband, hey, guess what? I got groupies. It is a lot cuter to hear than like followers or whatever. It's cute. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our triangles that are our pattern. And if you want, you could draw another line halfway between each one of these 4 quadrants, but it's not necessary. Because what you're going to do is you're just going to lay this triangle right next to the one that we just did. And what you want to do is you want to get this long edge up to that point, and you want your point on, touching the outside also. And so that's what we're going to do now. And again, see how this is longer right here? Can you see how my point is sticking out right there? Now this one looks like it could be a little short. Maybe moving this around here. And this here. See how that played? See how that played better when we switched them around? That's why it's so important to lay them down, play with them, and then go back and glue them down. Otherwise, I would have been snipping that point off, and then it just looks blunt right there. So always play with your pieces for that very reason I just showed you. Okay, so now we can glue down these triangles. Again, just eyeball it. See, you're going straight up and down. You want that long side touching the point of the previous triangle, and this point is here, and this straight edge is touching the point of that one. Okay. Then I'm just going to keep rotating my block so that my hands are comfortable in the position that I'm working, and I don't feel like I'm trying to stand on my head by turning my arm or anything like that. Okay, so there's that one. And again, if your point is a little bit outside of the boundary, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't even really snip it off. But if it's really noticeable to you and it bothers you, then you do what you got to do for what pleases your eye. But if it's already glued down, then it's a little late to start over. You might be able to just lay another piece over it, snip off the end that's sticking out, and just, if it's the designer series paper, I've done it before, it's not going to come up. So what I've done, because the designer series paper is thinner than the cardstock, I've overlapped pieces before to make it work. Just make sure that you're straight. And then here is your Dutchman's puzzle. In the PDF that I had done before, you're going to get some pictures of some other quilt blocks. And you also get the diagram that I drew out. But you're going to see that here's a traditional flying geese where your triangles are stacked on top of one another, and I've got all of my flying geese going in the same direction. Here's the Dutchman's puzzle that we're working on today. This is a card that I couldn't find, and you'll know what really plays well is if you've got, even if they're the same color family, if you've got 2 colors that have high contrast. Okay, and then this one here, this is called Return of the Swallows. You'll notice that on the Dutchmen's puzzle, we've got 2 flying geese going north, south, east, and west. In the Return of the Swallows, you've got, or wait a minute, those are the same. Oh, I see what I did. Okay, what I did was I used I put 2 triangles together to make that. So yeah, they're going north, south, east, and west too. But I think that, this doesn't sound right. I'm getting confused here. Okay, back up. Return of the Swallows is you've got opposite corners. The flying geese are both going in the same direction, opposite corners. So here these are both flying east, and these 2 here, they're flying south. So if you want to get technical on what the patterns are, that's the difference. Okay, the Dutchman's puzzle, we've got flying geese triangles going north, south, east, and west. Okay, so let's keep going. I got kind of off topic there. So let's set our block to the side. And, oh, here's something I wanted to show you. If you question why can't I just emboss my square and then cut my triangles, depending on how intricate the pattern is, like look at this here. When the blade hit the embossed areas, it actually destroyed the, see how it just destroyed the pattern because it hit those ridges, and then the paper naturally just wanted to tear. So I'm not saying that you can't do it with all embossing folders. This one has some really deep impressions, so it worked better that I cut the triangles first and then just threw them in the embossing folder and ran it through the machine, because it destroyed these triangles when I did it the other way. So I wanted to show that to you. Okay, let's, I'm going to get the vellum out of the way, because before we start putting all of these pieces together, we've got a little bit of stamping to do. So I need to put a sentiment on my insert, and I'm going to use Blackberry Bliss, and the sentiment that I'm using is sending flowers and thinking of you. I love how they've mixed the fonts in the, in this stamp set. And so I'm going to use that for the inside. I don't have any sentiment for the outside of my card. It's all on the inside. And I'm going to bring this down to me just a bit so that I can see what I'm doing without getting my head. I'm so nervous to stamp on my live because I can't get in the position that I need to be in when I'm stamping, and it just feels awkward. So there's the sentiment, and while I've got this piece here, we might as well put our little border on. So right now we're just prepping all of the components for the card, and then all we've got left to do is assemble it and put it all together. So there's the inside. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I am going to customize my ribbon. Now we're going to do a sliding bow. So I'm going to cut 12 inches for that. And I'm going to wrap a piece from the front to the back that I will tie the sliding bow onto. And I want to at least, I know my card's 4 1/4, or what I'm wrapping it around is 4 by 5 1/4. I'm just going to make sure I have enough. So I'm going to cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. So one's for the wrap, and the other is going to be for my sliding bow. I'm going to get my quilt block out of the way so I don't ruin it. And I'm going to bring in my blend. This is the dark berry burst. I'm going to coordinate it with my card base. And I'm just going to color my ribbon. So this is how, both pieces. So this is how you can customize any ribbon that you've got that's white or a light color that you could change the color of it. So I'm going to set those aside just for a second. Let me clean off. Wow, there we go. You know, my baby wipes actually work better. I'm going to grab a baby wipe. I like the chamois, but this works better. I don't think maybe I have my chamois damp enough. It's the first time I used it, you guys. So usually I have baby wipes sitting nearby, and that's my go-to. But I thought you better get the chamois out and play with it. I don't think maybe I got it wet enough. But there we go. And if your blends ever makes your ribbon feel stiffer, then just with the friction that you're creating when you're running it through your fingers, it softens it right up. Okay, so they're not so stiff anymore. So there we have our ribbon. Those are the two pieces that we're going to need. Let's bring in our card base. 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. Burnish that. And I don't like to put anything white down until I have to, because when I'm moving things around, it's always it's going to happen to me that I am going to get something on the white cardstock. So I try to do those pieces last. And so I'm going to work from the back, and I'm just going to put a piece of designer series paper. It's half of what the card size is. I don't know why I like it, but I do. If you don't want to go half, then you could put a full sheet. Not a full sheet. A 4 by 5 1/4 piece of designer series paper on the back, leaving you that nice little border all the way around. I just like to do things differently. I think it adds interest. And then, where's my button? Always, 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 always sign your work. There's so many things that we do in quilting when we're making a quilt that we can bring over into card making. Always, always sign your work. Okay, so there's the back of the card. Now we'll work on the front. So I'm going to bring in that 4 by 5 1/4 piece. And what we're going to do is we are going to layer our 3 7/8 inch square of designer series paper. And then we're going to put this 1 1/4 by 3 7/8 right underneath it. And you just want to make sure that you have that nice little border. Okay. And here lately, I don't know why, but find myself struggling when I'm putting my pieces down and leaving that border. I do not know why. So I'm going to just try to be really careful. Just make sure I'm even here. And without pressing too hard, I want to be able to shift. That doesn't look too bad. Does it ever happen to anybody else that it shouldn't be so hard to put a piece of paper down? Here, I got a little too much glue right there. And get a border, but I've really been struggling with it here lately. Okay, and I'll go back in with my adhesive eraser and clean up any glue that has come out from underneath the designer series paper. Now here, I'm going to have to overlap this just a wee bit if I want to keep my border looking even. But that's okay. Sometimes we have to pivot. There we go. The ribbon is going to cover up where the two pieces of designer series paper meet. So I can just let that go. Now, my smaller piece of ribbon, I'm going to show you, is going to cover that up. And I'm just going to use Scotch tape to anchor it to the back. I don't want it to cover up the larger piece of designer series paper too much, because I'm also trying to keep an even border around my quilt block. So I'm kind of just overlapping that bigger piece just by a smidge. Okay, and I can still play with it. So there's that. Now what we can do is we can adhere it to the front of our card base. I'm not going to get that glue so close to the edge this time. Leaving a border all the way around. I can feel that glue right here. Oh, much better, much better. Okay. And set that aside for a second. Bring back in our star of the show, which is our quilt block. And we are going to adhere this to the Blackberry Bliss, or whatever color you went with, as your mat. I'm just going to pick it up, move it a little. And here's a tip. If you're working with a white quilt block and you are trying to move it, if you're going to try and shift try to keep your fingers on a piece of colored designer series paper or cardstock instead of using the white, because that way if you're pressing hard and you're trying to slide something and you have anything on your fingers, you're probably going to transfer it onto the white part of your quilt block. You know, sometimes it erases, sometimes it doesn't, but I try to, if I'm going to have to shift and slide anything, I try to keep my thumbs on something that it won't show up quite as much as if I had maybe some glue or ink or something on my fingers. Okay, so there's our quilt block. So we got these two components here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up my quilt block with dimensionals. You don't have to. You could adhere this flat. And I'm just going to put some towards the center so that it doesn't cave in too much. I love the dimensionals. I mean, these backings peel right up. I rarely ever have a problem that I can't do it with my fingers. And so now we're just going to center our block in this top portion. The floral designer series papers, giving it that beautiful floral border. And the darker colors stops my eye and doesn't make this all go together. So there's that. Now the sliding bow. How many people, is it just me? I don't think it is. But if you want your tails going, of your bow going in a certain direction, then you want to tie it upside down. Has anybody noticed that before? Like if I were to thread this through and tie my bow, my tails are going to be going that way every single time for me, instead of my tails coming down. But if I turn my card upside down and tie my bow, watch this. This is crazy. It happens to me every single time. But here I'm going to make my bow. Come on, where's my piece? Oh, hold on. I'm all thumbs when it comes to tying bows. Okay, there, I got it. Gotta find my loop. Now see, my tails are going the direction that I want them to. But they were going to be going this way had I not turned my card around. So once my tails are going the right way, now I'm just going to fuss with the loops on my bow. And I know I've got more ribbon here than what I needed, but number one, I am always all thumbs when I'm trying to tie a bow. So the more ribbon I have, the better. And then I can just play with the tails. And the reason why I did a sliding bow is, do I want my bow over here? Do I want my bow over here? Until I figure out what side I want it on, I don't have to untie it and start over. I'm just going to slide it. And maybe you want your bow in the middle. I don't know. I think I'm going to go over here. And you can see how flimsy this is. I'm going to come in with a glue dot and just slip it. Just want to slip this glue dot, make it a little bit smaller. Now that I know where my bow is going to be, just want to tuck it underneath here. and keep this ribbon here from lifting up and moving around. And now I can just trim up my tails. Oops, that one's a little bit shorter. There we go. Trim up my tails. There's my bow. And then all that's left is to embellish the front. And these are the sequins that comes in the suite. These are just yummy, yummy colors. Don't they just cheer you up? You know, they say, I've got a like a lemon lime color, my curtains in my kitchen that I sewed. They say that if you paint, if you paint in citrus colors, that it actually will make you hungrier. Has anybody heard that before? Like, these are colors that are, I guess, supposed to make you hungry? So, I don't know. I don't know. I enjoy food, so I don't think my lime curtains in my kitchen have anything to do with that. But that's what I read somewhere. I'm going to stick with the Berry Burst sequins. I'm going to put one here in the center. And then, you know, staying in numbers of 3. Here in this opposite corner, I think I'm just going to put a large one and then a small one. Oh, that's a small one. Hold on, I got to get a large one. Where is it? It's a little backwards of what I wanted to do in order, but it works. And so here is the Dutchman's puzzle. This is the card that I thought I had, but I had given away. Oh, it's too funny, you guys. So here is our card for today. Oh, gosh, there's a piece missing. We got to put our sentiment, our insert on the inside. Can't forget that. Okay, so there's our inside. I just want to put our inside, and then there's our back. And now I want to show you, uh-oh, I got some glue coming out here. Oh, it's a piece of paper. So there's that one. And then I wanted to show you, here's another one that's just like it, but I used the purple on the bottom. And then what I did was I changed the colors and I went with Melon Mambo as the card base, and I colored my ribbon with Melon Mambo. But I used, instead of a small print as my floral border, I went bolder. And I like the boldness also. Having your quilt block matted onto a slightly larger square keeps all of this from running into each other. So my eye distinguishes the background floral here and it separates it from the quilt block. So it works. So there I did a Melon Mambo. Here's a different paper underneath, but there's that purple there. And then I'm staying true to what I said. I did 2 Christmas cards. So now I'm up to 4 cards that I'm ready for Christmas. And I'm not real thrilled with the Poppy Parade that I, for the bright red. I'm not really thrilled with it, but it works. I'm not going to get too picky. I'm thinking maybe I should have gone real red instead. But I still like it. It's still a pretty card for Christmas. And, I have to put my insides down yet. I love white on white, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. This is the basic white thick cardstock, so maybe just stamp a Christmas greeting on the inside. But so I did my 2 Christmas cards, because remember, if you're cutting 1 card base, you're actually cutting 2. So why not just double the recipe and get 2 cards out of the way, since you're going to have 2 card bases cut anyway. So there's the Christmas, and then here's with the zinnias and just 2 different patterns. I've got more cards to make since I showed you in steps what I'm doing. So I'm going to give 4 cards away. If you would like to win a card with the zinnias, just type zinnias in the comments, and then I will draw 4 names and I'll send you one of the cards, okay? So that is it for today. Thank you for being here. If you want to get a chuckle, go back to the files over in the group and scroll all the way down and read some of those PDFs that I first started. And they're a hoot. You're going to be like, what the heck is that girl talking about? So I took pictures. I'm redoing the PDF, and there will be a new one for this card with photos and text, for the directions. I honestly do not know what I was thinking when I did that first one back in 2021. So make sure that when your cards are finished, to take a picture and share them over in the group, so that we can get inspired with something that you did that we didn't think to, wasn't in our wheelhouse, but we want to add it to our list of ways of embellishing, or just how to change it and make it our own. Okay, so everybody have a very blessed day. I have some running around to do, but then I'll go back and read the comments. So if I missed any questions, just give me some time and I'll be sure that I answer them for you. Okay, so thank you for being here. I love my groupies, as Kathy refers to everybody. And it's just so cute. And I will be checking in over in the group to see what you've done, okay? Have a good day. Talk to you later. Thanks for the hearts.